as far as Vince, yeah, he was a great mind. I learned some good things from him. I also learned some things that, 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 that I'm like, that's not how I would do things, And so you learn both, okay, this is something to emulate, and this is something that I shouldn't do. Just leadership styles, when Vince and I are obviously very different in that. But this doesn't work. It certainly wouldn't work for me. And I just don't, I don't think that's how you do things. And it's interesting because, one of the things that I've become really passionate about is learning about leadership, and I really do believe that organizations rise and fall on the quality of their leadership, and team building and doing all those things that I think if you often think are cliche, right? But they're not. I mean, it's vitally important. And, I look at WWE now under the leadership of Triple H, and, it's just, wow. I'm so proud of everything that he's been able to do with his own style of leadership, and, just almost taking the company to another level altogether. Vince is one of the great entrepreneurs in history. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And it's not just in the wrestling business, just in entertainment. He was very visionary, and he could just see things that none of the rest of us could see. At the same time, you have the great entrepreneur, and often what you see is their partner in business and in life is the business person. That was true of Henry Ford. Everybody remembers Henry Ford as the visionary. Henry Ford wasn't the great business guy. His brother was the great business guy who took Henry's ideas and, made them practical. And that's what really led to the success of Ford. That's Linda McMahon. She was the same way in WWE. A lot of folks, you think WWE, you think Vince. A lot of folks don't realize how important she was, especially in the early years, as the business person who is running the back office operations. And that's also something, again, going back to team, yeah, everyone thinks Vince, he's the face. Well, the thing about Vince was he always had a great team around him. And one of the most important people was Linda.
Yeah, it's really, I'm really interested in leadership styles. And so from the outside looking in, and your perspective may be very different, but if I was to look at someone else, you mentioned like Triple H there, that seems like transformational leadership. Whereas I would imagine Vince McMahon was more of a autocratic leader, right?
Yeah. I would say that, and I think the difference is, Triple H was one of the guys that understands the locker room, understands the mentality of the locker room. Vince, again, he was a great visionary, very good business person, but he was always a promoter. He was always outside of the locker room. So yes, you do have those two very different styles. Both successful in their own ways. But I think now, especially with the trajectory that the company's on because of Triple H's leadership, it's going to go places that it's never even been before.